I can now welcome to the programme Kira Rudik, who the Ukrainian MP, who's leader of the opposition Holos Party in Ukraine. Kira, as always, welcome to the show.
Hello, John, and thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure. Can I ask you, first of all, Kira, the obvious question? I mean, Donald Trump saying Ukraine started the war. When you heard that, what did you think and what did you feel?
It was really hurtful, especially for so many Ukrainian people who have lost their loved ones, who have suffered throughout this war immensely, people whose children were kidnapped to Russia. It's just really, really hard to go back to people and try to explain why the US president would say something like this.
Yes. I mean, let me just add this, because you'll have seen this, Kira. When you see, and you're in an opposition party. You're a political opponent in Ukrainian terms to President Zelensky. But you now see on social media President Trump saying that Volodymyr Zelensky wants to keep the gravy train going. He's saying he wants to keep the war going. He says he's refusing to have elections. He says he's low in the Ukrainian polls. He's not low, actually, in the Ukrainian polls. And you say you try to understand why Donald Trump says this. When you try to work it through in your own mind, Kira, why do you think Donald Trump is saying these things?
This is negotiation technique. This is what I hope that is. Otherwise, it's very hard to explain it again to myself as a human being, but also to so many people who are here in Ukraine coming with these questions. So President Zelensky was actually very good at standing for Ukrainians' national interest, and he's not an easy to negotiate with and to negotiate down, especially when it turns out that when he's pressured to forfeit Ukrainians' interests.
Yes.
So this is number one. Number two, Ukraine cannot have elections during the martial law. And when the martial law is lifted, then we will obviously have elections. And let me say, John, with all the respect I can, neither Russian president nor American president will be telling Ukrainian people when to elect our president.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's been suggested before, Kira, as you know, that Donald Trump does things his own way. He's a deal maker after his own fashion. That book of his, the Art of the Deal. You aim high, you stir it up, and you see what can be achieved on the back of that. But here we see Donald Trump plainly, unambiguously echoing the lines and the arguments of Putin. It could be Putin speaking. If we're saying this could be a tactic by Donald Trump, how could this conceivably lead to anything constructive?
Perhaps again, if he is opposed with the very firm stance, and being an opposition party leader, I wish our president to have nothing but the strong stance right now at these hard times. You can imagine how much pressure he must be under right now. You know, John, for us, the situation in 2022 was much worse, right? When honestly nobody believed in us,
yes,
and everybody thought that we will fall down in a couple of days. I keep coming back to that situation because right now we are not at the worst situation, right? We have the United Kingdom, our European allies, behind ourselves.
Yes.
So we feel actually, we don't feel desperate, right?
Yeah.
We understand that this will not be easy. And we understand that perhaps Donald Trump will try to push President Zelensky into some kind of deal that would be easier to the United States or easier to Trump's idea of how the world should be. But we never have gone with something that would be easier for everyone. We have our goal is to stand for Ukraine, for our nation, for our sovereignty, for our future. And this is what we will keep doing. And our army will keep fighting as they do. Our people will keep supporting our army. I just wish it was not so disrespectful to people who really take it really close to their minds. You know, for politicians, it is one thing, but there are so many people who are deeply, genuinely hurt by what they have said, what they have heard and what they have read. And I wish that it didn't happen, because if we look at actions, John, right now, nothing happened. Nothing happened just yet, right? But there are just many things that being stirred, and the negotiations are on. Like the check by Donald Trump of how far he can push Ukrainian side around, figuring out like what we would agree to. We would not agree to anything that is against Ukraine's best interest.
I mean, clearly there can be no denying, can there, that Ukraine, in the end, would have a veto over any deal that was struck between Russia and America, if such a deal is struck. And I can hear the emotion in your voice, Kira, and believe me, our thoughts are with you at what is, I know, a very difficult time. Can you, Kira, imagine a situation then where Ukraine fights on without American support, maybe with the help, clearly, of European friends, or do you hope and believe that America will, in the end, always be there to back up Ukraine in some way or another?
So I have high hopes that it's not presidential decision, but rather Congress decision to how to support Ukraine and in which amount. And we have many good friends of Ukraine in the U.S. Congress who I believe are watching this also with open eyes and hoping that like nothing irreversible is done.
Yeah.
Second, we know that after J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich Security Conference, there were many discussions by the European leaders of what to do if the United States would lift its umbrella and will stop providing not only for Ukraine's security, but for European security.
Yes.
So, yes, we will have to figure out at which amount we will have the support by our European partners. But we, again, don't change our plan. Our plan has not changed from fighting. And we have done that when we had nobody on our side. And right now, when we have many good allies on our side. Russia will not pressure us to capitulation. They have not done it in the past, and we are not ready to do that right now. What we need right now is for European leaders to be faster and more decisive in what they can offer right now, knowing that the situation is rather new, right? And then to move really quickly with these decisions. Because first, it will make us feel stronger in those negotiations when we are pressured to something that we cannot do and don't want to do.
Yes.
And second, it will show that the strength of Europe being able to stand up against somebody who tells you, well, whatever you have been promised is not going to work anymore. You are on your own. Okay. And this is what we are worthy when we are on our own.
Kira, it was Volodymyr Zelensky himself who floated the idea of Ukraine trading American access to Ukrainian mineral extraction and the mineral extraction business in Ukraine for protection. Now, since then, we know there's been an American offer. I know it's a first offer, it's a draft, but the offer was very, very tough indeed. It's been called extortionate and worse than extortionate. What are your thoughts on that?
First, from what I understand, the main issue with this offer was that it was only saying what Ukraine needs to give, but was not issue anything in return, like not saying that there would be any security guarantees. And as you know, John, this is what we are after. Like, okay, how do we make sure that there is some protection here? So this is the first problem with the offer. Second problem, one person told me that it was worse than Hitler's Germany had to pay after they were defeated in Second World War. Well, it's hard to say because I have not seen the offer itself. However, I can believe it could be something like that. What is surprising to me is that Donald Trump seems to believe that it could be a good investment into Ukraine's rare minerals, which will be like a very costly and very long-term investment.
Yes.
Rather than taking into account the 300 billion of Russian money that are being stored in Belgian Euroclear.
Yes.
So it's like such an easier and better way of getting money if that's what you are after.
Kira, as always, it's really good to talk to you, and thank you for sharing your views at this time. Kira Rudik, the Ukrainian MP, leader of the Holos Party in Ukraine.